Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever, wherever, and whatever time it is. My name is Aneesh de Vos, and we have the most glamorous, the most wonderful, definitely the most ponderful, and as Claire said earlier, who I'm going to introduce in a minute, everybody needs a David in their life. David Buckler, glad to have you here.
Thank you, Aneesh, and hello again, and all of those things you said. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be where you are. Hello.
Great. Now, not to take the limelight off you, David, I'm going to introduce, please do, Aneesh. I'm going to introduce, indeed, the most lovely, the most glamorous, utterly gorgeous. She's a really good friend of mine, Clare Lipp. So Clare has joined us today because Clare actually is in the modelling industry as a petite curve model. I'm hoping that today, and David's hoping it as well, that people who are struggling with their identity in how they look, how their body feels, I'm hoping that Clare will really give you some inspiration and change that a little bit for you. Clare.
Hello.
Hi. How did you get into this industry? Apart from the fact that you're utterly gorgeous, how did you get into this industry? I know Clare is tiny, yeah? I stand a good head and shoulders above you, don't I? When we go for a hug, it's like that. So, Clare, tell us, what was it? How did all of a sudden you go into this industry?
Okay, well, just to let you know, 5'4", a size 16, 18, I'm not what most would class as a traditional model and the perception that people have of models. So yes, I suppose I am quite unique within the modelling world. To go back to the beginning of how it started, which was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, may I add, after coming out of something that was quite traumatic for me, 4 years within the court system as a single mum. So it wasn't probably my best of times, as in how I was feeling about myself. My confidence was quite low. And I was at a crossroads as to where my career was going to go. Now that my little girl was 4 and at school, it was time for me to, enter back into the world. And like I say, probably not at my best. However, I definitely believe that it's all about timing. And I had a wonderful opportunity presented to me whilst I was brainstorming where I wanted to go. My past was as a makeup artist, as a training manager, and I didn't really want to enter back into that corporate world because being a mum for me was the most privileged job that I had. So it was something that was going to work for me. Now, I was really lucky that I had a friend who works as a presenter and had heard within a company called QVC. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's an online shopping brand, that they were looking for more diverse models and people to represent the UK demographic, which was as a 5'4" and as a 14, 16, 18, because that was the reality. So my wonderful friend said to me, listen, Claire, I really do believe that you could do this. And she's known me for many years and knows of my journey. And she was like, I really believe that you can do this. So I was like, right. And it was one of those moments, Aneesh, where all of those thoughts and all of my past and all of those doubts that I had, I literally had to step out of my own way and go, do you know what, Claire, this is an amazing opportunity. It's going to give you the flexibility and freedom to be a mum, which is your priority, but it's also going to bring you in an income. And being honest with myself, when I had eventually got honest with myself, there was a facet of me that loved that from being a little girl. I loved the performing, the singing. I was always creating catwalks in my bedroom. But this young girl that was, probably the age of 8, it was almost a dream that had been squashed and never been fulfilled. Why? Because there wasn't the encouragement, there wasn't the support. I was, from being very young, judged on my appearance that I was either too fat, to ugly, to this, to that. And I, at that point, didn't have the awareness that I have now, and was so heavily identified with those beliefs about myself. And hence then my life journey from being that young almost manifested where those beliefs were coming from, my reality. So I had the partners that would judge me on how I looked. I would have, you know, it was almost like I was bringing that into my awareness. But there was a point then where I was like, do you know what, enough of this. So I almost broke away from that, did some work on myself, managed to become more aware of who I was rather than be identified of who I was told that I was. So I think that, to be honest, as a point, was the catalyst of change for me, by identifying more of who I was rather than what I was telling myself that I was. So in this moment of this opportunity, I just chose to allow all of that to fall away. And I had a meeting with this company, and I was literally given half an hour to watch the girls on a catwalk. Bear in mind, these girls are like goddesses. They're like 5'10", size 10, 12. And there's me, 5'4", size 16, 18, going, oh my goodness, how has this happened? But I'm going for it. And it was almost this amazing moment of complete freedom and trust that I had this opportunity that could genuinely change my life and my daughter's life. And not only that, it was almost like, I feel like I'd come sort of full circle, that, okay, I've done some work on myself. I can choose to let go of those thoughts and that identity, and choose to connect in on a deeper level with myself. So I just brought myself. So there I am in this world that, you know, there's cameras, there's lights, there's 5 different cameras. You've got to make sure that you look at that camera, even learning how to turn. I'd never done that, which is hilarious. Like, you'd think you'd be able to turn. And I was like, oh my goodness, you've got so much to think about. Anyway, I had half an hour and then I was going live. So you imagine, half an hour to watch these goddesses. And then suddenly I'm going out live. I was like, oh my goodness. So I just literally breathed, I let go, and I just brought myself. And do you know, my driver was, Aneesh, that when I look down that camera, and I still do it today, every single shoot that I do, every live airing that I do, when I look into that camera, it's almost connecting on a level with those women that would maybe not think that they're enough, or not dare to wear that dress, or not dare to wear that style, because again, like myself, they may have that internal dialogue going on that they're not enough, or that they're not slim enough. So I think it's so beautiful that I'm now representing the reality of the diversity that's out there, because we're not all 5'10", size 10, 12 people. And I think it's so wonderful to be part of such a big change within the modelling industry per se, as in, you know, I think it was about 4 years ago when Number 7 started bringing out the Real Woman and the Dove brand, where you were suddenly seeing women of all ethnicities, shapes, sizes, cellulite, not retouched. It was such a brilliant change within an industry that is, you know, that is heavily judged, and it's judged about appearance, it's judged, you know, about your worth. And I think for me as well, as a mother now and having a daughter, I think it was really important for me that they are completely bombarded by social media, by magazines, by being told what is beautiful. And I think it's such an amazing, amazing time of change that now it's making accessible to everyone, and everybody's beautiful in their unique way. And I feel like it's a privilege really to be in an industry that is now bringing more of a reality of the reality of life and the diversity of life. I think it's incredible. So yeah.
You know what, I don't know about you, David, I'm just kind of like, I'm inspired myself, because, you know, obviously I've known Claire for a very long time, and you know, and we have our chats about this, don't we? You know, we've spoken about this, and you know, I'm hugely in Claire's corner of like, yeah, just really go for it if that's what works for you, and you feel good, that go for it. But hearing you speak now, Claire, I'm just like, literally, you're on fire. You really, really are. And I hope that other people, and not just women, I hope that men watch this as well. I suppose what just really occurred to me was, Claire, the model industry is, and using that diversity, etc., and you as a petite curve model, is that also for men as well? Because I think that sometimes men get kind of kicked out of our thinking about it. You know, are we still expecting men to have the six pack? And obviously David's got one. You know, are we still are we still expecting that? Is it changing? David's lost it. Is it changing it in terms of that? What's happening?
Yeah,
because I would like to see guys that look like guys, you know.
Reality. And I think what's wonderful is I think there's a place for everyone, and I think that's the most important thing. I know I felt when I was in the changing rooms, and believe me, we are literally there in our underwear. There are no, it's almost, it is what it is. And I'm stood there with 4 girls, not at the minute because of obviously this current situation, but you know, I remember thinking, oh my goodness, how are the girls feeling at the fact that I've come in now and I'm representing a different market? And you know what, they were so accepting, and they've been amazing, because again, you know, I was going into their world where it has been pretty, as it was, standardized for years and years and years. So suddenly, and we all know the resistance to change, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that the girls are going to be okay. And it brought back, you know, me being that 16-year-old girl that was heavily bullied about how I looked, but also I had no self-worth or awareness at that point. And it was almost that moment where you can go back into that in any moment, but it's again just choosing to maneuver out of your own way. And I feel very passionately now about bringing this to others, to give them that awareness younger, because I just think now with my little girl, you know, it's such a blessing to see her with such a high level of self-worth. Yeah, she does have the humility and humbleness, but she won't take any rubbish off anyone. And I just think, oh my goodness, so amazing through your own journey as a mum, how once you do the work on yourself and you become more self-accepting and more self-aware, and self-conscious, but in the right way, you can then change that next generation of her looking at me as a model, but she sees me with makeup, with no makeup. She sees me in all types of facets of who I am. And even though I'm a model, that's a facet of myself. It's not all of who I am. And I think once you get to know yourself and bring yourself, which is so much more than who you believed that you were or who you think that you are, that's all I do, is I just show up as myself every day. And bring who I am, do the work that I need to do. And it doesn't mean that every day is great. It's almost, you know, there are those days where I go back to being that 16-year-old girl going, oh my goodness, can I do this? Am I enough? But it's just in that moment choosing to let go and choosing to, what I say, maneuver out your own way and bring yourself. And I think that's what I do on every shoot, when I'm on camera. It's being that. Going back to the guy situation, so I think it's wonderful that there is still, you know, the models that are what I would call the traditional models, but now it has opened up, the spectrum has become so much broader, that there's plus size men models, there's real men models. You know, it's what it's done is it's opened up to that market where there's almost everybody can relate to somebody, rather than it being, you know, this aspirational out of reach, I need to have aesthetics done to be that person. Actually, what I think is so wonderful is now we're looking at the advertising and the campaigns that are coming through for both men and women, that it's definitely a lot more relatable to the reality of life. Because like I said, the reality is we're not all that. So I think it's really beautiful that on a very deep level, you know, that people can look and feel represented, feel seen through other people that are looking like that. And they can be more relatable. So yeah, it's definitely both men and women in each.
And I'm assuming non-binary as well. Yeah,
everybody's now become wonderful. I think this is a really incredible, amazing time of change, and I think it's bringing almost everything that needs to come up to the light. It's coming now, and I think that's everything. And I think it's incredible. I feel very honoured to be part of this time, what I call change.
David, speaking of men and in the industry, what is it that you want to see? You know, Claire and I want to see real people in front of them, what is it that you want to see?
I think what Claire describes is happening now, and I hadn't really applied much thought to it, but she has such an important message.
Yeah.
And she's such a great communicator.
Yeah.
And that, obviously, what she does and who she is very important, because it's already giving this message to quite a wide population.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what I'm saying is, I think this is I see it as happening quite subtly. It's not sort of hit you in the face. It's you mentioned the Dove commercials. I've obviously seen them, and I've never paid that much attention to them. And I thought, oh, that's different. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful? I don't know what I was expecting to see, but I guess we're conditioned to see a model in the traditional sense, aren't we?
We are.
Obviously not that Claire is quite beautiful. I mean, that...
It helps her.
It helps. But I'm just blown away by how good a communicator are. And if I asked you, do you have another platform? I feel like I should have done some homework, because I don't know if you blog or not, but there are other avenues for this message.
Yeah.
And I come from a place where I was a counsellor in further education, and body image was something I dealt with on a daily basis with clients, with young people. And it can be, as you know, it can be quite debilitating and destructive.
Yeah. Certainly.
Especially
sorry, David.
In the world of social media is all around us, and we're just bombarded with these images.
I Claire knows that if I am working with a youngster with body image issues, I do use Claire's videos to say, do you know what? Great. This isn't somebody I've plucked out of the air. This is somebody that I know, somebody that we are really close, and this is her. This is what she does. And it makes an impact. It actually makes a massive impact when I'm working with people. Claire, I hear what you're saying about that kind of, am I enough? What do I look like? How do I feel? I grew up with a mum. My mum was ridiculously pretty woman, 5'2", but a continuum of her weight, a continuum. And when I look back, conversations like this remind me, and I look back and I just think, wow, Mum, you literally were this ridiculously pretty woman, 5'2", and curvy, she was size 14. As she grew older, her weight progressed, and that got hold of her, because in terms of her representation of addiction through eating. And I just, it actually makes me quite tearful, because I kind of think, if my mum were here today, I would be like, look, Mum, look at Claire, look at what she has achieved, look at the message that she is giving out. Because, and you're right in how we work with our daughters and sons, but, like you, I have one daughter, and you know my daughter Claire, and she is one of the tall girls in the world, and so that's something that we have continually worked with her. But in terms of how she physically looks, she has an acceptance. She has apart from the fact she has this, I'm too tall, she's 6 foot, she has this just acceptance. And I do think that as a mum or as a person, if you can learn from, as you said, if you can maneuver yourself out of the way, sometimes I can talk like my mum. I can think, gee, I'm feeling, a bit too heavy today. And my daughter will say, you're kind of doing your mum thing. This isn't who you are. So I love that message of maneuver yourself out of the way. because what you bring with that is those old histories, those old patterning, and that old patterning is from the media. You know, I love the Dove adverts when they say, you know, I don't know, Mary, and she's a physiotherapist, and you know, and there's something different about her body image. And you're right, David, it has been really subtle, hasn't it? This kind of, we're going to move this in.
I think so. That's my impression.
Yeah. I suppose what I really want to see now is also more men coming through, or more transgender, or more non-binary coming through as well in those adverts. I get that Dove was a campaign for women and it was a beautiful campaign, but I would like to see more coming through. You know, I love the fact that the industry has opened and been delivering a different message. I really do. And Claire, you're just like, I mean, like, you'd fly the flag. You're such an advocate of it. You really are.
Thank you. And I do feel really passionately about it. And I think because of my own journey within my body, back to being young and having that absolute judgment and being bullied because of it, and having horrible relationships that were so destructive to me. And, you know, I just think it's that point now where I got to that level of self-acceptance that who I am now could change in another 6 months. Your body's continually in a state of change. And I think what really worked for me is giving myself the time to get to know who I was and let go more of who I wasn't, which then almost gave me that confidence to be stood half naked in front of these girls, be able to just, like I say, know more of who I was, to bring that rather than the identification with the thoughts or the story that I was telling myself who I was, or what the ex-boyfriend had told me I was, or when you're judged. You know, I remember when I was 16, I got stopped and did a thing for the Yorkshire Post, and I was so excited, and I was the centre page, and I was so young, and I think the title was Modern, Young and Perfect. But at that time in my life, I was extremely insecure. I had really low self-esteem. I was being bullied at that time. I was in an unhealthy relationship. I'd still not addressed all of my stuff from my childhood. So it's really funny how see one thing, but actually now when I look at myself, and I've just done a beautiful photo shoot this week for a beautiful brand, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I do have to almost catch myself and go, wow, you're not the slimmest that you've been. You're, you know, there's so much, but it's almost bigger than that. And I think that has been the gift within this for myself, is that, you know, I had an opportunity, and also to almost through it heal all those past beliefs of going, well, actually I'm enough, and I'm not the slimmest that I've been, or my skin's not the most perfect. But I think once you almost do that work and give yourself that time to let go of all this stuff, then isn't it amazing what can happen in your life? And I think that's what I would love to get to help the younger girls that are looking at, you know, we're really heavily bombarded at the minute with the aesthetics industry, and I'm not judging. I'm really, really not. I think each to their own, and if you choose to go down that path, who knows, maybe one day I might think, oh, I don't believe so, but it could happen. So I'm not bringing judgment around this, but also to, you know, bring it back to who you really are. And we have these amazing bodies, and they're all beautifully beautiful in their own way. And I think once you stop comparing yourself to others, or once you stop handing over your power to what other people's approval, and just bring yourself, I genuinely believe through my journey, it's a testament and proof that if you just show up as yourself, bring yourself, miracles do happen and things can happen. And I've been in it, like I say, 4 years now, and it's picking up more and more momentum. I get to work with some incredible people and some beautiful brands, and but I think my bigger purpose is the fact that my driver for this is it's not as a model per se, as in, oh, I'm a model. It's almost like, no, actually what I'm bringing is something far much more and far bigger to help others have that approval of themselves. And if I rock up as myself, then hopefully it can inspire others to go, do you know what, she can do it. And she had all those beliefs about herself, and she was bullied, and she was, you know, all of that story, that past story. I'm just hoping that people can go, actually, do you know what, in any moment you can become who you're meant to be. And if that's a chapter that you're meant to go down, go for it.
Yeah. I'm rarely speechless, but I do. And I'm going to say that I've known Claire for a long time, and we each have supported each other through a lot of stuff. And Claire is the most down to earth, ridiculous person that I know, but in a really, really good way. And, you know, just to be around her it's fun. I mean, we have a lot of fun. Claire often does videos for me, don't you, Claire, if I'm doing business stuff, and the outtakes, we literally are crying with laughter. And Claire can make me look, you know, presentable on top, and then I've got did I have a hole in my sock once or something? And we're just in hysterics about the waist down stuff. But I mean, but going back to the industry, it's not just the modelling industry, is it? You know, drinks industries are using people in adverts now that are more diverse as well. And I get that that's a form of modelling, but in actual fact, it's a selling of a brand as well. So I think that the change is there. I do think it's more there. And I don't think it's like, you know, sometimes in diversity, there's almost this kind of like pat on the head. Well, I've ticked that box. And you're like, no, come on. You don't tick a box. These are people. You open the box and bring them in. And I sense that is happening. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think, dare I say, a lot of tokenism goes on, and it's quite insidious, really. It defeats the whole point. Whereas, you know, Claire's coming from a genuine, honest and forthright situation. And, you know, this is me, this is what I am. And it is inspiring, absolutely inspiring. It's not by any means there because you have to be. You know, I think there's a genuine market that, you know, it's been dormant for, if you look at it from a business perspective, it's been dormant for years and years and years. And suddenly, you know, and the more I think about it now, the more I'm aware that's what goes on. And yeah, part of it is a token gesture, if you like, but a great deal of it is really, really sincere, like Claire and what she's involved in.
Yeah, well said, David. Claire, is there anything that you can share with, and I'm not talking about just the young girl who's 15 and getting bullied, I'm talking about the 60, the 70-year-old woman.
Yeah, well, do you know what?
Non-binary person. Look at me, I'm getting tearful, but it's so important. Yeah. Obviously, this is a nerve for me because of my mum. I know this is a nerve. What would you say?
I would say, and I do have a lot of colleagues that are in their 60s, incredible women that are representing all of that. And I think what's so beautiful is, I think the main message that I would say is we've got an amazing opportunity at the minute because we have more time, and I believe it's a gift, and I think it's a time for people to come home to themselves. And I think if there's anything I would say to people from my own journey is get honest with yourself. Honour that girl that maybe wanted to be the ballerina or wanted to be the model or wanted to be whatever it is that you lived out in your childhood. Honour that facet of yourself, and you do not know where it's going to lead to. You honestly don't. But I think honour yourself, your authentic self, lead with integrity, and make every day count, and just get to know who you really are and let go of those beliefs or those thoughts or what it is that you've been told that you are, and just come home to yourself and be yourself, because you are enough. And I know that you know that I feel passionately about that sentence, that we are enough just as we are. And once you just maneuver out of your own way and bring yourself, do you know what? You were born enough and you are enough, and just let that shine. Bring yourself, doesn't matter what age you are, what you are is way beyond that. And I would just say to anybody, just come back to yourself and remember that, and get the support, get the help, do the inner work, because you can then almost live your reality. You can create your reality, you can live your dream, knowing that. And yeah, just use this time wisely, come back to yourself and just enjoy, you know, live your life fully. Because if there's any part of you that isn't fully accepted, you know, we get to that point where we think, oh, I wish I'd done that. Don't wish it, do it, and just be it and live it. And yeah, just be yourself, because we are all beautiful in our own unique ways. And I'm sat here, I've got my makeup on. What I love is that on my social media there's times where I haven't got makeup on. I've got rosé. Not perfect, it's really not. So I think it's just, once you become more comfortable with yourself and honest with yourself, the world's yours, because just bring yourself and just show up and anything can happen. It really, really can. And it's keeping that faith and belief in yourself, not what anybody else is saying or what society's saying or what the media is saying. Just be you and have fun and yeah, enjoy your life. It's there to be enjoyed and lived fully.
David, Claire, thank you, truly.
Oh.
David, talk us out if you can.
Well, I couldn't think of a better note to end on, and I want to say thank you so much. I'm glad you're you, and I'm glad you're out there doing what you do. It's so important. So thank you.
Thank you for being.
You're most welcome, and I hope to see you again. And for myself and Aneesh and Claire, it's thank you and goodbye.
And stay safe, everyone.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.